Okay, I think hi guys, welcome everyone. I think we have already 55 people inside. Happy Sunday, everyone. From me, Leo, Ron, and Odette. We are live from Tel Aviv, Israel. I think we're going to wait a little bit, like 1-2 minutes. So we're going to give time to everyone to join. So just be patient 1 minute, and we'll be happy and glad to start. Okay, from London, Ukraine, Spain. How many people? Wow, amazing. Okay. One minute and we start. Hi, Vincent. Wow, how many people? Brazil, Belgium, crazy. Ivichu, how are you? Florida. Okay, I think we can start slowly, so other people will join us. Okay. So hi guys, hi everyone, welcome to this fourth office hour webinar that we host here on Big Marker, and happy Sunday. Actually, I have to say good morning and good evening because I know there are people connected from all over the world, from east to west, and we try to find the best. The most comprehensive and suitable time for all of you, as this webinar both related to our Carpool communities and our editors communities from WasteCore. And so, as you might know, 3 out of 4 of our Carpool communities are located in the American continents. So the Mexican, Brazilian, and US Carpool communities. So as I told you, we are here. We are live from Israel, from Tel Aviv. We are still working from home, and so I hope that our internet is going to be stable enough, as we are not working in our office. And also I hope that you're all safe and healthy, and we really appreciate your participation to our fourth office hours. Also, and we know that it's a Sunday, and Sunday usually is the time that we like to dedicate to our families. So the agenda today is gonna be split into presentation. As you can see, we have 2 important guests. We have I have two colleagues here, Ron and Odette, 2 software engineers. So they're going to give you a presentation about the pickup and drop-off and walking trails. And I'm happy and glad because this presentation is combined both the interest of 2 communities, the Carpool and the edit community. And the Buddhas and walking trails are going to affect greatly improve the experience of the product of Carpool. So having said that, I think so we're going to have these 2 presentations. Odette is going to start, and then we're going to have Ron. And at the end, we're going to have, as usual, as most of you already know, we're going to have the Q&A session. And for the Q&A session, there is on the right side of your screen, you see like a tab, a Q&A. You can write there in English relevant questions, and Ron and Odette will try to answer. And if we won't have the answer, we'll get back to you with the answer. And also, please, at the end, if you can, try to don't close the tab at the end of the webinar, because it's going to turn into a survey. And as you know, we really care about survey because we get your feedback. I think I said everything. Last but not least, we're going to record this webinar, so we're going to give you also the opportunity to listen in the next future, in the next days. It's going to be on our website. So I'm going to close my camera and my microphone, and so Oded can start with the presentation, and I'm going to get back to you at the end of the two presentations. I'm going to start with the Q&A. And thanks again for attending this.
Okay, so hi everyone. My name is Oded. I've been at Waze for about 3 years now. 2 years and something on the ad service side, and now I'm with the routing team. And today I'm going to talk about walking segments, walking trails at Waze. So let me start off by describing the two types of walking nodes that we have in Waze, and then I'll describe why we're going to use one of them from now and how it works. So the old walking node type, or regular or legacy, has many names, is the one we can see on the screenshot on the left side. And sorry. And this node is, as you can see, there's a segment between point A and point B. And in point B, we have a walking segment coming out of it. So this type of node splits the driving segment, which is the one between point A and B and continues on, splits it into two. On the right-hand side, we can see the virtual node, which is the new and awesome node type that we have, is that we have a segment between point A and point B, and the walking segment that comes out of this segment, sorry, the walking segment that comes out of this segment does not split the original segment, but instead creates what we call a virtual or inner node on the segment. I will describe how it works in a few slides. So why do we need this new and improved virtual node thing? So when we use regular nodes and segments for walking trails, if we connect a walking trail to a driving segment through using this regular node, this connection splits the driving segments into two. So, for example, in the screenshot I have here, that's a driving street near our office in Tel Aviv, back when we used to go to the office. So between point A and B, it's just one long street. But because we have so many walking trails coming out of it, we actually have this main segment split into 7 or 8 segments. When in fact, for every driving purpose, that's just one segment. And the issue with that split is that it makes us, instead of saving one segment to our database, save 8 segments to our database. And instead of calculating the speeds for one segment, calculating it for 8 segments, and instead of our algorithm having a straight line between point A and B, it has to go through these 8 or 7 nodes. So these regular nodes and segments for walking trails causes us a lot of problems and extra work and extra storage and extra network traffic for driving computations. So, So that's why we want to use virtual nodes. What do I mean? We want nodes that will act as non-existent for driving computations, but for walking computations will act as any other node. So in the screenshot I have here, we can see a segment between point A and point B. That's a single segment that has multiple walking trails coming out of it. These walking trails does not split the segment into multiple segments, meaning we have 6 walking segments coming out of this driving segment. But instead of splitting it to 7 mini segments, we have one long segment between point A and B, and we have 6 virtual nodes. So that saves us the need to store 7 segments and compute 7 segments and so on. So what happens for driving calculations is that driving calculations just ignore these nodes altogether, meaning they don't see these nodes. For every driving calculation, we have one long segment that does not have any crossroads or intersections on it. But for walking calculations, and here we have a screenshot from the Carpool rider app that sends a rider to the pickup location through a walking calculation. So this walking calculation takes into account all the virtual nodes and uses them in order to find the fastest walking route from the rider location to the pickup location. So to sum up this part, why do we even need virtual nodes? So we need them because we want the advantages of having walking trails, of using walking trails in order to get the user or rider from one point to another through walking, but we don't want to pay the price of having to store multiple segments and use multiple segments in driving Quest, which do not care about these segments and nodes. So that's it for me, and now to Ron. Sorry,
guys.
I have one more thing to say. Sorry. So what changes now is that inner nodes, which were introduced to the Waze map editor a couple of years ago, but were ignored until now in the server side, meaning we didn't use them in order to navigate in walking requests, are now useful, meaning every inner or virtual node on the map can now be used to get a user from one point to another to walking, and previously not connected walking segments that we avoided connecting to driving segments in order to not create this split can now be connected and used. So now that's really it for me, and now Ron.
Mm-hmm. Hi, everyone. Oded, can you tell me that you hear me properly?
Yeah, you're good.
Great, thanks. So hi, everyone. I'm Ron. I've been at Waze for a couple of years now. I'm also on the routing team with Oded. I mostly do routing for Carpool. And I'll talk to you today about one problem that Waze Carpool has, which is bad pickup positions, and the small solution that we've put out, currently rolling out, to mitigate a part of that issue. I'm going to run through the problem and then the solution, with leaving a lot of time for questions. So this is a real example from my Carpool app. I hope you're all familiar with it. Suppose I want to take a ride on Saturday morning. I open my Carpool app. I see here's Philip. He's a great candidate for me. He works with me. I know him. And I choose my match with Philip. I see it's the proper price. It's a good hour for me. But when I look deeper, I see that Waze chose a very poor pickup spot for me. This happens to be a street right next to me, and it looks exactly like this. I can't really get on the highway. Philip can't stop. It's physically impossible for him to pick me up on that street. And we often at Waze come across even worse situations. Drivers, it might be really dangerous to pick up a rider where Waze chose to put a pickup position. So very briefly, why does this happen for Carpool? Carpool currently has a very simplistic view of what is pickupable and what is not pickupable. And this is a list of all non-pickupable segments. Highways, freeways, ramps are non-pickupable. Very weird, tiny segments that we think are sort of map hacks or irrelevant segments are non-pickupable. Roundabouts are non-pickupable. But everything else, which mostly leaves primary streets, everything else is pickupable. And whatever is pickupable, when we judge based according to how much the rider would have to walk, how much the driver would have to detour to pick up the rider. But that's all the signals that Waze uses. Whether the segment is feasible for walking, that's a binary question. It either meets these criteria or it doesn't. And other walking and driving aspects. We never ask the question of, is it a good pickup spot map-wise? Is it comfortable? Is there a bus stop in there? We don't have that information yet, and we don't use that. So that's why we often come across such situations. So the partial solution that I'll be presenting today is to get that information in the map editor. Suppose someone tells me this segment is unpickupable, and we would use that information inside our Carpool matching system, which matches car riders and drivers. And from that point on, we won't give that specific poor pickup spot. Let's see how it looks in Waze Map Editor. Hopefully, you should already be familiar with it. If I recall correctly, this feature is already released in all of the in Waze Map Editor beta in every Carpool country, and maybe even in all of the productions. So hopefully, if you can't see it yet, you should be able to see it within the next few days. So this is the exact segment that Philip was asked to pick me up on. Suppose I want to tell, I'm a map editor from my city, I want to tell Waze that this is a very bad segment. I'll choose the segment, I'll go to the restrictions. I now have a new tab of pickup and drop off. I have this new tab of restrictions, pickup and drop off, and I can tell Waze that this segment from direction A to B is not allowed for pickup. I'll save it, and that basically ends my work. Roughly 2 weeks later, after the bad Carpool match, the bad pickup spot has been purged from our system, from all of our databases and indices and caches and temporary stores. It takes a bit of time, but around 2 weeks after you edit the map, you should never get that specific bad pickup location. Now, obviously, this doesn't solve Waze's mediocre pickup spot issue. It only solves the really clear-cut cases where the pickup position is unreachable or it's dangerous. And that's what we really expect the map to contain. If it's illegal or dangerous or unfeasible, we would like it to be restricted. Just FYI, the map support team, if it receives a ticket from a user, it also adds a pickup restriction. That's almost it. I just want to mention one more thing. I mentioned that there are several segment types that Waze already considers unpickupable. So just FYI, if you do try to add a pickup restriction to it, you'll get this red banner, and you won't be able to add the pickup restriction on segments that Waze already considers unpickable. Now, we've already received a great feedback that often you guys know the map really well, and that highway that Waze considers to be unpickable actually has a bus stop, so it's an ideal pickup location. And we do want to tell map, even though you've ruled it out, it should be considered. It should be considered a great pickup spot. And that's a great feedback. And I believe that once we roll out this feature, if we get the results we're looking for, we'll also implement your suggestion. And that's it on my part too. Hopefully this will help carpoolers have a safer and more useful ride. Thank you guys, everyone. And let's see who's joining now.
Okay. Thank you, Oded, and thank you, Ron. So we got some questions, really interesting. I'm gonna start with reading one that I have already the answer. Is coming from Jude that is the coordinator of Moldova, and is asking, so from Europe, they're asking all the world will get Carpool app. So I would like to say, so this year we supposed to launch Carpool in a country in Europe, but due to coronavirus, things are unfortunately are changing. But of course, on our plans, and we will have to postpone it to the next year. But yes, we are thinking to open in more countries, but not this year. And hopefully, we hope that we can do this in the next years. Then, so I'll read another question. Are you aware of the problems with changing the geometry of the road segments when a virtual node is connected to it? I think those problems are not solved till now, and I have to disconnect the walking trail, move the road segment, and reconnect the virtual node. I don't know if Ron and Oded, you want to take this?
Yeah. Oded is free to contradict me. I think we're not aware of that specific issue. We'll write it down and get back to you. I think we can solve it reasonably fast. Thank you for the input.
Okay, then also another input would be great to have a way of identifying walking trails joined by real nodes, for example, generate map problems for them. Okay, so then we have many situations where walking trails not available 24/7, for example, park, plazas, etc. These are important enough to save a lot of time for riders, but should not be considered in closed hours. Is there any plans for walking trails restrictions in a similar way to navigable segments?
That's also the first time I've heard of that suggestion. I'll write it down and we'll consider it. I'm not aware of such locations, so that's also a very good feedback. Thank you, Fabio.
Now we have a question of Boyd. Could you please elaborate some on the walking usage from now on? What would be the best practices for working with walking trails and pedestrian boardwalks? When should we connect them to road segment, and how many of them should be drawn on the map?
Yeah, so I want to clarify. Yeah, I want to clarify that while for the usage until now, meaning for the walking part we do at the end of a driving route, if we can't get you to directly to your destination, we check if there are walking trails nearby, and if there are walking trails, we bring you to the entrance to that walking trail if it gets to your destination. And if there are no walking trails, but there are, for example, pedestrian boardwalks, we ignore them. will bring you to the closest segment. Meaning, for this calculation, there is a difference between pedestrian boardwalks and walking trails. For the find the fastest walking route for a carpool rider, we use all the walking segment types the same, meaning we use walking trails and pedestrian boardwalks and stairways all together and without difference. And now to answer more specifically about your question, what would be the best practices is that still you should not use a walking trail, but use a pedestrian boardwalk if you don't want ways to bring a driver, meaning a Waze regular app, not Carpool. If you don't want ways to bring a driver to the entrance to a walking segment in order to get to the destination, you should use a pedestrian boardwalk. Otherwise, you should use a walking trail. But the best practice should be connect them when you can. It will provide a better experience to carpool rider users, provide better matches, provide faster routings for these matches. So that's it.
Okay. Thank you. Question from Wilfred. We have not carpool yet, and our map have walking trails, pedestrian trails, and stairways not connected. Better to connect them, or is irrelevant?
It won't hurt connecting them because it won't hurt drivings, for example, but the usage is very limited because we don't use walking much outside Carpool. So, Ron, do you have anything to add on that?
I would say if you see an unconnected, please go ahead and connect it. There's no longer any reason for it to be unconnected.
Okay, so another one. What is the difference between unknown and allowed properties for the server? Would be better if all segments marked as allowed by server script, or else marked as allowed, not the unknown option disappears on the same way that happens with segments direction property?
That's a good question. To be honest, I'm not familiar enough with the best practices of Waze Map Editor. Oded and I are on routing team, not very familiar with Map Editor. What's the difference between unknown and allowed? Currently, there's no feature-wise difference. Unknown means no one marked it yet. Allowed means someone specifically allowed it, but the backend system considers both the same way. As I've mentioned before, we already got a great suggestion from the community to allow overruling Waze's disallowment and explicitly allowing a segment. So in the future, that's what we'll use for that. And to your second question, so I can't really answer regarding scriptology. That's a cool topic, but I'm not familiar with enough to answer it. Leo, can you write it down and I'll discuss this with the map team? If we have any suggested best practice for this, or want to change the default or something. Thank you.
Okay. Another walking trails be converted to streets, which was possible earlier. I have no answer of this.
I'm not familiar with that ability.
You guys have that? Okay.
I think I'm not familiar with it.
And we'll get back to you.
I didn't hear the question.
Why do the Waze carpool? Sorry?
No, go ahead.
I didn't hear that. Go ahead. Okay.
I didn't
So why do the Waze
question,
car
sorry.
pickup and drop off points move so much? Right. Sorry.
So
You're right.
can you hear me?
I think
Yeah.
we have. Okay. Yeah.
So why do the Waze carpool pickup and drop off points move so much? My carpool basically ignores them. Thank you, Ellen. You seem like a very passionate user. And we, up until pretty recently, we would recalculate the pickup spot and drop off spot very often. And that led to a lot of movement and jitter. And we now have several solutions to improve that. Some of them partially rolled out, some of them completely rolled out. Maybe the best one is what we call, I don't remember how they're called, but basically when you do explicitly, you as a rider or a driver, explicitly choose a pickup position, a pickup spot, when you edit the pickup location and choose one and agree with the driver that this is your new pickup spot, then this is saved and reused for your future matches. Sticky pickups, we call it, sticky pickups, maybe something else. So hopefully this would have been drastically improved for you by now. Next question by Ellen.
Okay, cool. So we have next. Can we set a designated pick or drop-off point for interview between said driver and rider?
I don't fully understand the question. If it's for a set of drivers and riders, then I'll have to think about it. If it's for a specific rider and driver, then I've already answered that. Nowadays, once you set a pickup spot, and Waze remembers that pickup spot. Additionally, we would also prompt you with a question. It was the pickup spot that Waze chose for you, a good pickup spot, and should we save it for next time? So this is regarding a designated pickup or drop off for a specific rider and driver. If you're talking about multiple riders and drivers, I hope you're not, because I can't answer that question.
Okay,
I'll also take the next one.
4 questions. One. Okay, cool.
Cool. So Fabio asks, wait, and the questions move around, I think. Fabio asks, segments unpickable for Pudu are still considered for rider routing to the Pudu location? Example, I need to use a footbridge over a highway in order to arrive at Pudu on the other side, but the footbridge is only connected to a major highway. That in turn is in the middle of the rider route for the Pudu location. I hope I understand your question. There's no connection between Puduableness, I like you used Pudu, and there's no connection between pickupability, Puduableness, and routability. Some segments a rider can walk on, and some segments a rider can be picked up on. So for example, in your example, I think it would not be relevant because a rider can't walk on a major highway, so you won't be able to reach the footbridge. I hope I've answered your question. So to summarize, there's no direct connection between the two. Most segments are walkable except for what we might expect. I don't have the list with me. Freeways and highways. For example, parking lot segments are walkable but are not pickupable. So these are two distinct concepts for Waze. And if you'd like, we can get the list of walkable segments. I'm sure you already have it somewhere.
I'll take the next one.
We have, there are the 2 questions, one of Manuel and Alexandre.
Wait, it jumped. Yeah. So Manuel asks, if you have a destination in a walking trail or pedestrian boardwalk, is it valid the assumption that using walking trails, Waze drives you to the closest either virtual or in a node to your destination. Meanwhile, pedestrian boardwalks drives you to the nearest segment, which means that they have different behavior. Yes, that's a valid and correct assumption. And I'll just add that stairway acts as pedestrian boardwalk in that example, meaning walking trails differ in behavior from pedestrian boardwalks and stairways. Ron, you want to take the next one?
Is there a next one? Let me just answer one that we've skipped.
Yeah, we have.
What type of segments are unpickable? We have, and I will again provide a proper list. In my slides, I went over them slightly non-formally. Highways, freeways are non-pickable. Parking lots are currently non-pickable. Roundabouts are non-pickable. And in addition, very tiny segments who have no street name are non-pickable. And that covers most of it, but we'll provide the full descriptive list again. And let's see what's the next question. Segment without a name and shorter than 40 meters is considered not relevant for pickup drop-off. The answer is yes. Yeah, that's my mistake. My slide is incorrect. Whatever you were informed in the forum is more correct. I wrote that also, but missed that one in my slides. So my bad. Thank you, Alexandri. Lucas asks, is it possible to override the already known exceptions?
Yeah.
And allow PUDUs in the future? In Brazil, it's common to have bus stops on highways that can be used as a meeting point. So Lucas, that's a request we hear a lot of times, and I really hope we'll get to it. It really depends on whether this feature, the restriction, improves PUDUs as we hope it will. But that is exactly the suggestion, the comment that we've gotten most often regarding pickup restrictions. I'm kind of confused with the order of questions. Leo, can you take it back and help us?
Yeah, sure. So I think we have now the question from Asaf. Is there a way to mark stop the matter segments so that they can be the best PUDU points?
Mm-hmm. Short answer is currently there is not. We currently look at segments very coarsely, and we can't mark a specific part of a segment and say that this is the best pickup spot inside the pickup segment. And I'm not sure when we'll get to it. Thank you, Asaf.
Question from Pete. Will a walking trail still route as before where there is a junction, not a virtual node? For example, a pedestrian path crosses and has its own traffic light where we may want a junction node.
So yeah, the answer is yes. Like it will use any regular nodes and the virtual node. So previously old connected walking trails with regular nodes will still work.
Again from Boyan, routing-wise, should we use walking trails between streets, parking lots, and a building entrance in order to provide better routing option when the entrance is far from the street parking lot?
Oded?
So if it's far from the, if it's not far, if the building entrance is a few meters from the street, I think we shouldn't mark the walking trail because we will just get you to the nearest segment. If it's a long walk, then yeah, why not? It will provide a better experience for users.
Okay, thanks. Alexandre is asking, walking trail with one-way direction. What is the interference in Pudo?
Walking trail with one-way direction. What is the interference with Pudu in Pudu? I'm not sure how I can answer that. Are there walking trails with one-way direction? The answer is no. Walking is usually never sees directionality. So even if the map supports it, I think our routing algorithm would not see that the walking trail is one directional. I hope that answers your question. And if that's a bug, please let me know. We should probably get back to Fabio. He also asked a question that we skipped. Let me do it. We also have situations where segments are not walkable. Yeah. I think we should have the property editable as well. For example, segments specific for turnaround in avenues marked as primary street, they do not have sidewalks and should not be considered as walkable regardless of road type. That's also a great suggestion, which I'll take into account. Thank you, Fabio.
I see another question from Andre. Is it possible to change displaying walking trails in application? We don't see differences between walking trails and normal road.
In the Waze application or the Carpool application? I'm not sure how that would service you. That's a question I'm unqualified to answer. And Leo should probably take it offline.
Okay.
They do want to say something.
I don't know. I don't know if we missed other question, but I think
we missed one by Boyan. How about the transportation places in WME? Are those used? Boyan, they're not currently used, but frankly, the community did an awesome job of mapping them, and we're constantly looking into using them. They're great pickup spots. They have different properties from rider and driver wise, and we are really looking into a chance to start using them. I'm not sure when we'll actually start using them in the service, but they've already been mapped pretty well. Thank you, okay. Alexandre. I'll take a look at both your links.
We have a new one. Would it make sense to add something visual type instruction, something like turn right at the traffic light, as opposed to in 1,000 feet turn right?
I think that's one also for you, Leo.
Okay.
So Emil, I'm afraid we're not familiar enough with that part of the app. And we'll get back to you. That's a good suggestion. And Boyan, thank you. Bus stops, you may consider in some countries that they are forbidden for cars. Yeah, in Israel too, but the drivers still stop at the bus stops. Thank you, Boyan. Are we done?
Yeah, I think we're... No, we have another one. We just got it. I have a lot of examples where the drop-off on is not connection of the walking trails with a virtual node, but a few meters, blocks away. If you locked those, should the destination point not be connected to the virtual node? Not be the connected virtual.
Odette, can you try?
Answer this?
Yeah, I'm not sure I completely understand the question. Wait, let me reread it. Okay, so the pickup or drop-off point is not on the...
It's the last one from Lake
section of the walking trail and the I'm not sure I completely understand the question. Ron, do you understand it?
Not fully. No, I didn't fully understand the question, I'm afraid.
No, can you explain?
No, so you understand. I'm checking. We missed any question. I think we answered all the questions.
To the best of our ability.
Yeah. I wrote down that we didn't have the proper answer, so we'll get back to. So I think we finished. So we finished our 4th community office hours about kudos and walking trails. As I told you at the beginning, we have another one, another questions. Are there any plan to improve recalculation when a nearby segment?
If you're referring to when the Waze app falsely identifies you on a wrong segment, then we're currently rolling out a new segment snapper, which should reduce that instances where Waze falsely recognize you're on the wrong segment. Are there any plans to improve recalculation when driving on a nearby segment? If you mean you suddenly went off route and Waze recalculates your route, then personally, I'm not familiar with anything that needs to be improved. Maybe if you could give more details, or did I answer your question already? We have a couple more. As you are routing experts, do you know why sometimes the rerouting rounds into a loop and you do receive such reports? And do you receive such reports? We've seen that report. Oded and I are less familiar with that bug and where it stands, but we're definitely aware of it. I can ask our QA if they're more familiar with where that bug stands. So Leo and I will get back to you. And maybe Oded get Georges' question?
Yeah. So George or Jorge, I don't know. Current stairways are routable. Some of the driving directions are sending the user through stairways, although it shouldn't. Is because they are connected to segment regulant nodes. I'm not familiar with that. If you mean that driving goes through stairways, I would love for you to send us an example, because that shouldn't happen, and we'll look into it. If you're referring that walking gets through stairways, then, as I mentioned before, for Carpool either it should go through stairways, so it's okay. But if it's driving, then I would want to see that one of these cases, because it shouldn't happen.
Okay. I'm checking. Guys, do you see any other questions that we didn't answer? I think we're done now.
I'm sure if we'll wait, we'll get some more. I'm kidding, though.
Okay. Okay, so I think we can officially say that we finished with this webinar. Hope that you enjoy. And as we said at the beginning, if you close your tab and you're gonna get into a service, so you can give us your back, and you can we recorded this webinar, and so you will have the chance to again in the next days. Thank you very much for your time and your participation.
Sorry, I think we missed a couple of questions.
Thank you, Dad, and thank you. Okay.
I'll go over them quickly.
How about
please fix on one name for the new nodes. The new nodes are called inner nodes, and we often get confused and call them virtual nodes, but we mostly call them inner nodes, and that is their name. Oded, am I correct? Yes. So inner nodes it is. Thank you. And we had a second question, which I can't find. And it would be great to have a way of identifying walking trails joined by real nodes. For example, generate map problems for them. And that's also a good suggestion. Well, we'll look into it. Oded and I are less familiar with that ability, but we'll look into it. Thank you. I had a really great time talking to you guys and answering your questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys, and see you soon in the next office hours. Thank you very much.
Bye, everyone. We'll be in touch.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.